I'm Shamaila Chaudhry. I'm a foreign policy analyst in Washington, D.C. and a photographer, and I'm the executive director of the Focus on the Story International Photo Festival.
What's the backstory to this festival?
Well, my friend Joe Newman and I have always been interested in storytelling. I met him through his photography community called DC Exposed, and that's wrong, but DC Focused. The idea for the festival began with Joe Newman, who has established a virtual community in DC of photographers called DC Focused. And so through many conversations with other photographers in town, we realized that there was a common interest in looking at photography as a tool for telling stories about social issues, politics, emotional trauma, you name it. We were all looking at photography in the same way, and we thought that we should host a conference that would bring everyone together and grow this community of storytellers, essentially.
So what would make you happy at the end of the festival? What do you want to see?
Well, I think one thing that would make me happy is after the end of the festival is if people go out and just start to act on their creativity that has been nurtured these few days and produce really interesting content and sharing ideas that of things that we haven't seen before. That's kind of one of the main purposes, and I hope people stay in touch throughout the year. And our goal is to do this again, and to so connecting photographers and people in the creative community is one of the outcomes that we're going to look out of this.
My last question: you're a foreign, or at least people know you as a foreign policy person. What's your story with photography?
Well, I think I've been in foreign policy for well over a decade now, and foreign policy is, as we all know, big on the use of words. It's very important to conveying policy, and I think at some point words have their limitations, and I found that in my experience working on some of the most difficult issues like the war on terror and the killing of Osama bin Laden. And I think given the United States' role in the world now, words can only be so useful, and at some point the image comes in, and photography can convey things that words cannot. And so for me, photography has a very utilitarian value when it comes to working on foreign policy, which I still very much care about, and I'm looking for ways to bring the two together so that people who do work on policy can do better policy.